Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Let's try this fucking again so I can get this right. Welcome to MSNBC, my snarky news broadcasting channel. All of the news, none of the pants. I have with me, as always, Ren from Renelations, because Shitlord is Anonymous got struck down by YouTube because YouTube is a piece of shit. Also, we have Ishtar from Twitch and Army of Snarkness. And since Moxley is doing something else, we have Florida Anti-Hero.
I'm going to repeat my original joke by reminding you that the next time I see you, I'm going to shove my entire left foot directly up your asshole.
Sounds painful. It's not going to happen, but it does sound painful.
Don't forget, make the toes wiggle. You have to make.
Oh no, as I said, I'm going to wear waders, so that way when I'm done, I can just hose that shit right off.
Just do it in the backyard, okay? I don't want this in the house.
Are you telling me to do Antoine in the backyard?
Yes.
Go for it.
It's a little awkward. I mean, I'm not real big on public sexual display.
It's the backyard. You'll be fine. Nobody will see anything.
Is there a privacy fence?
No. But the neighbors are almost never home at the same time that I am.
Why do I feel like you've got cameras rigged up just in case of, backyard man sex?
I don't know. Maybe you're just suspicious.
I am, but usually with good reason.
Hey! You don't know. I mean, she totally doesn't have a secret Pornhub account linked to those cameras.
Why do I feel like Ren's in on this and helped you set them up? Something here just doesn't seem right at all.
Igor and I may have had discussions about things.
I could take that term completely out of context and make it far, far worse. But you know what? We have news to talk about.
We do have news to talk about. I'm glad you're discussing man sex and all that. We do some sexual articles. But
I
as
would
you can see,
like to point out that Antoine has just admitted he's glad we're discussing man sex.
Yes, he is.
You know what? I saw some hot guys today. I'm okay. So, as you can see, we have three lovely people on camera for your enjoyment.
Lovely people and one asshole.
Well, I mean,
That's
of course,
not nice.
there's Anti-Hero.
Don't talk to me like that.
So, we have set up here, we have Ren with the cringe and the comedy. We have Ishtar with the spooky and the science. And we have Florida Anti-Hero with Florida Man stories. So, let's start with since it is October, the month of Samhain and Halloween, let's start with something spooky and sciencey.
Yeah. All right. Miami has a new haunted hotspot, a restroom.
A what?
While we usually associate hauntings with ancient buildings and locations such as mansions, cemeteries, and castles, the following reported haunting appears to be quite different from the usual locations where we would expect hauntings. The latest haunting report is not just any location, though, since a Hawaiian resident reported a haunting in a golf course restroom. I know.
A bathroom at a golf course is haunted.
The Mauna Lani golf course. The report of the alleged haunting was made on September 18th, 2018. A Hawaiian woman claims she encountered some strange occurrences while going to the restroom adjacent to the dining room of the golf course.
I mean, when you gotta go, you gotta go.
My guess is the Taco Bell didn't last. When the woman left the table and entered the restroom, she mentioned she experienced a creepy feeling, leading some paranormal investigators to believe the woman may have a limited psychic ability. Paranormal investigators also believe this is why she experienced the events to follow. During her visit to the golf course restroom, she alleges to get an instant tightening of the chest. That's called a heart attack. Mm-hmm. This happened almost immediately as she entered the restroom. She noticed the second stall in the restroom was closed and checked underneath to see if anyone was occupying it. However, the stall appeared empty. Shortly afterwards, she heard a wailing sound coming from inside the restroom.
Someone clearly had Taco Bell.
Yeah.
TBS.
Shortly afterwards, the noise appeared to increase in intensity, yet she continued on and used the third stall in the restroom. According to the woman, the wailing sound became too terrifying at one point, prompting her to flee the restroom immediately. However, before she had a chance to leave the restroom, she felt something coming after her. She also heard footsteps, which stopped suddenly when she turned around. Even though this experience would stop most of us from using the restroom ever again, the woman would later return with her husband, forcing him to enter the restroom and listen for strange and unusual noises. While they could not detect any further unusual incidents, she did notice her charm bracelet had broken. Oh dear. We must mention that the woman in question wants to remain anonymous, so fame or attention are certainly not factors in her coming forward with this story. The woman is adamant about her experience and admits herself it may sound crazy to some people.
People.
I think to everybody. While there could be a logical explanation for the wailing noise, the footsteps and instant eerie feeling the woman experienced are harder to explain. I'm sure some paranormal investigators would be more than happy to look deeper into this matter.
I think someone in chat got it right. It was the leftover farts that she that haunted her.
I have a theory on this. You know how when a dog farts, it jerks around real quick and stares at its own ass for running away in terror?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's about it.
Oh, okay.
I think the wailing noise she was hearing was just her own ass just violently detonating. And she just had no idea what was happening. And dog-like, she stared in terror at the world around her as this strange noise came seemingly from the ether. And she ran in horror. And in her running, she tore her charm bracelet. I mean, this seems very plausible to me. Very, very plausible.
What if it was Mexican Day at the golf resort and it was just a lot of beans?
She may have also gotten a waxing earlier, which means her skin would be a little numbed.
There's also the possibility that it could be the spam.
If she got the full-blown waxing, if you get my drift, her O-ring may still have been a little numb.
Ooh.
She may never have known it, and it just could have been the deathly whistling of spam-filled haze.
Ghost Dog says, a woman was using a vibrator in the second stall, and EMP gives you the same feelings.
I go with someone was there for taco night, and it was just bad.
It was private taco night in the ladies' restroom.
Or, much more likely, bitch be crazy.
Nope. What happened?
We lost our Ishtar.
No.
It was the ghost. The ghost got her.
The ghost got her.
All right. Well, the show must go on. So we already got the creepy, funny story. So Ren, unfortunately, we're gonna have to go to you after we go to a Florida man story to give us all the feeling of feeling like we're geniuses.
You're just scared of the tick.
Yes.
So apparently, I'm reading some sort of Florida man story, huh?
I'm
Yes.
back. I'm back.
The ghost got you.
Fine.
Which particular Florida story am I reading first?
You get to pick.
I don't know. I was handed these by a mock and ran away crying. I don't understand.
Pick one.
Let's see. I have 3 of them. So let's. This one looks fun. We're gonna go with the $1 million bond for man who cut off the penis of his ex-girlfriend's new lover.
How did I know you were going with that one first?
Well, it's been a long day, and this one looks amusing as shit.
Yes, that is the face of a man who was like, "Yep, I cut off his penis. What about it?"
That's the face of a man who said, "I am gonna have no problems in jail."
Well, yeah, because they're gonna hear his crime and go,
Like,
stay away from him.
that is 100% the face of a man who is wholly aware that he will have 0 problems in jail. It is the face of a man who is just like his eyes are dead, but the corners of his mouth are ever so slightly curled up in this knowing sort of, I'm going to do just fine.
His eyes are dead, but he knows the second he tells Bubba that he's in jail for cutting off another guy's dick, that it's like, I'm going to leave you alone.
I'll put it this way. That man's going to go to jail a tight end, and he's going to leave a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
whereas many men go to jail at tight end and leave a wide receiver. Anyway,
He's gonna go to jail and become the boogeyman that they'll threaten the newbies with.
Purple Aki. Anyway, so I have to read this story out loud now, don't I?
Yes,
Yes.
you do.
All right, so in Florida, $1 million bond for man who cut off the penis of his ex-girlfriend's new lover. A $1 million bond was set Thursday for a man who police say cut off the penis of his girlfriend's new boyfriend in Chicago.
Excuse me.
Of course.
Justin Foster, 28. His name is Justin. I have never met a good Justin. Every Justin I have met has been an awful person, and this only continues that. And I think that because of a book I read. Anyway, Justin Foster, 28, was arrested in Tallahassee last month on charges of attempted murder, jail records show. Foster was brought to Cook County by authorities on September 20th to face the charges. Judge Anyana Hansen granted Foster a $1 million bond in Skokie Court Thursday after denying his legal team's suggestion of a $250,000 bond, records show.
Wisely.
According to the Chicago... You know, I could actually see giving him a $250K bond. He had a very specific reason for the penis mutilating. On a very specific person. Unless there's a more record we don't know about here. This is a gentleman who had a very specific target for a very specific crime for a very specific reason. I mean, unless he's got a history of penis hacking. Which we'll find out, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's going to go around chopping off the peens.
Although, if this next paragraph says anything, maybe he did need that. According to the Chicago Tribune, Foster took a plane from Atlanta to Chicago, rented a car, and drove to the plains. That's when prosecutors say Foster confronted a 26-year-old man in the street, hit him in the head with a tire iron, carved initials into his leg, and then cut off his penis.
$1 million bond, $1 million bond,
yeah.
Well worth it.
Totally owned, totally earned, and I bet he's got no remorse either. After leaving the unidentified man in a pool of blood, Foster then threw the man's genitals over a fence, drove back to the airport, and caught a flight back to Georgia.
Like it ain't no thing. He just like, all right, I just beat a man half to death and cut off his penis. I'm going home and watching the news.
Oh, it gets worse. The victim, who suffered permanent brain damage, survived after a passerby called 911, police said. So this guy
up in the hospital.
This guy goes through his girl's cell phone, right? Checks her Twitter DMs.
This guy right here, the one with the dead eyes.
He goes through her Twitter DMs and he finds some motherfucker sliding into his girl's DMs with his dick out and everything. And then his girl's reciprocating, showing off the goods, having some dirty talk. You know, they're forming a very physical connection. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So he decides that the best way to fix this isn't to confront his girl, isn't to be like, we're done. It's to fly to another place, an entirely different state, hit a dude in the head with a tire iron, and clearly cave his skull in, carve somebody's initials into his leg, and then, for the piece de resistance, cut off his fucking schlong.
Yep.
Yes, that sounds about right.
And then, to really top that shit off, he just left and flew back to Georgia.
Chat, I don't know if they reattached it.
It doesn't matter to the guy who's not mentally retarded because of the tire iron to his skull. I don't think he really cares much about his dick. He's trying to figure out how to remember how to eat.
Oh.
And then to really top all that off, and this is the best part here. Not only did he hit the guy in the head, not only did he carve things into his leg, not only did he cut off and throw it over a fence, and then fly back to Georgia like it was a normal fucking day. No. He then has his legal team like, can we get $250,000 for a bond, and not $1 million? Because I can do that.
He has.
Nah, and then Like I said, we go back to this picture with those dead eyes and that slightly young smile.
He thought it was worth a shot.
Yeah.
He
He's
might
going
as
to
well
do just
try.
fine. He's going to do just fine.
Dude,
Fucking psycho.
gotta admit, the dude was to the point. He didn't do anything else. He's just, here's my plan. A, B, C, D. Plan's done. I'm going home. It's football season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he definitely got to plan D.
So I gotta give him props for being focused. I mean, it's not like he lost control of his rage and went after her, went after random strangers. No, he knew exactly who he was going after, and he did it, and he was done.
Yep.
Done now.
But no, can go home.
All right, Ren, we need a palate cleanser after that penile intrusion.
Do you want the man who lived as a goat, or do you want the tick in the ear?
Go.
Talk about
go,
more dicks.
go.
Antoine definitely needs more dick.
No, let's talk about the man with the goat.
Because if you put the tick one on, I'm leaving.
You may need to take a coffee break then when the tick one comes up.
Yeah, you let me know.
65 steaming gigs of coffee just for you.
All I know is that Antoine is now requesting goats along with man sex.
If it makes you feel better, Antoine, he did this to someone else on his stream earlier today, so you're in good company.
All right.
He does this to me on every Sunday.
I know. Why do you put up with it?
Because he doesn't want payment.
Oh, he's free labor.
Yes, he works for free.
All right. Well, this man, Thomas, I'm not going to try to say the last name, is a man who lived as a goat and explains why it was a special kind of time.
It's called PCP.
This is slightly older, but the title just got me. Man who lived as a goat.
Excuse me for just a second.
Good. A man who has been describing how he was so stressed with his daily life, he decided that he was going to live as a goat.
For some reason.
He was a 34-year-old man. Apparently his life was stressful, and he remembered thinking as a child that if he were a cat, he wouldn't have to go to school. And that inspired him to get a number of prosthetics, including a wooden structure that but it ended up using prosthetic limbs to walk in a field with the goats.
Is there a picture of it?
Let's see.
No.
No.
God damn it. Oh well. But okay, so he didn't want to go to school, so he thought
As a kid. And that's what he remembered. And then he decided that he was going to go to a goat farm with the prosthetics so he could walk as a goat. And he went to the field and he lived 3 days as a goat. He even attempted to eat grass like the goats do as well.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he attempted to mate with a goat. I really did.
No.
I mean, he may have, but, they didn't cover that in the article.
He lasted 3 days as a goat. I'm sure maybe the weather or wanting an actual bed or something like that came to mind. And, yeah.
Someone told him he could be anything he wanted to be when he was a kid, and he took that way too literally.
Speaking of kids, when I was younger, I wanted to be an animal too. Then I turned 6.
Oh, but you don't want to go live as an animal now for like a couple days?
I'm not a goddamn furry.
According to this man, it's magical.
I'm not a furry or an otherkin. Why would I do this? Antoine, go ahead and check your Discord. I did you a favor.
He found the prosthetics.
I found pictures of the prosthetics, Antoine.
Oh, God.
I did it for you because I knew you wanted it. It's Antoine's perfect lover, a brutal abomination of man and goat. No brown eye can love you like that brown eye, Antoine.
Shut up.
No brown eye at all.
Alright, I'm going to... This is so fucking stupid.
It's bad, isn't it?
It's horrible. It's horrible. Like he doesn't even look like a goat.
Horrifying is the next horrifying is another article I have.
No, we're not doing that one.
Yeah. You say that, but I'm gonna. You say that, but all I have to do is give Ish a little heads up, and then we do it.
So here he is.
Yep.
Those are the prosthetics.
Yep.
He's an idiot. I can't make fun of him.
And
I don't pick on the handicapped.
And he raised over 1,200 pounds just to get that, so he could be a goat.
I'll be honest. I pick on the handicapped. I do this every time I look in the mirror and make fun of myself. So I'm pretty okay with making fun of the handicapped.
That's not. No.
I'm pretty sure that I saw somebody just like this when I was in high school while the sped kids were walking by. With the bracers and everything on. He had polio. And like cerebral palsy or something. He made a lot of strange noises and drooled on himself. He smelled like a goat too.
Are you sure it wasn't this guy, pretending so he didn't have to go to school?
Look, all I know is that this man is clearly retarded. And I don't care how awful that makes me for saying.
Well, we're just gonna have to accept that you're an awful person.
Yeah.
And for some strange reason we like you. I don't get it.
Those of you who are unaware that I am not a nice person are just silly and should pay way more attention. So,
well, you know what they say, ignorance is bliss.
So now that we've seen
I'm being called out by Raz in the chat. He says, make fun of the handicapped. If you don't, you're discriminating. You make fun of everyone else. Why not them? Why treat them like they're different? Be equal, damn it.
There you go.
All right.
We're all going to hell anyway.
That's true.
So now that we've discussed one person who's never going to get laid that isn't Antoine, what's next?
Well, next we go back to Ishtar for something sciencey or something spooky.
How about a little bit of both? Ooh. An ancient child's vampire burial included steps to prevent resurrection.
Child vampire?
Child vampire. Excavations in an ancient Roman cemetery turned poignantly eerie last summer. In one grave lay a roughly 10-year-old child, possibly the victim of malaria, with a stone inserted in his or her mouth. That practice was a part of a funeral ritual intended to prevent the youngster from rising zombie-like and spreading disease to the living, researchers say. Such vampire burials indicate signs of belief among people of the time that the dead could come back to life. The discovery of this vampire burial occurred at the Cemetery of Babies, a mid-5th century site in central Italy. Classical archaeologist David Pickle of Stanford University led the excavation. The results, announced in an October 11th statement, will be presented in January at the Archaeological Institute of America's annual meeting in San Diego. A malaria outbreak in the region killed many babies and young children around the time of the child's burial. Of more than 50 excavated graves at the cemetery, the oldest remains were those of a 3-year-old child. Bones of several kids buried there have yielded DNA of malaria parasites.
I actually think I remember meeting someone who knew this Pickle person. I think it was an ex-girlfriend. She said he was too sweet.
Oh.
Okay.
Sweet Pickle. Get it? Jesus Christ, woman. These are the jokes.
I like dill pickles.
I bet you do.
Has anyone ever told you that your jokes are awful?
Yes.
Mine or his?
Both.
Yes, all the time. I don't know why.
Honestly, I was just going to go with his, but when you threw yourself out there as a target, I was like, if I can get you both with one bullet,
That's not
sure.
Funny. I don't know why people even pay attention to me. I'm just glad that they do. Makes me feel less.
It's because you have boobs. Sorry.
I never show my boobs.
I had
female.
I had 10 viewers by myself at one point today. I don't know how the fuck that happened.
Because you are a boob.
This is probably true. Have you ever seen my incredibly handsome face?
Yes, it looks like a hairy nipple.
It does. The hairiest.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Several
Nothing
other
like a nice hairy nip.
Several
Continue.
other vampire burials have been found previously, including a 16th century Venetian woman buried with a brick in her mouth, and a man from 3rd or 4th century England whose tongue had been cut out and replaced with a stone. Many infants and toddlers interred in the Italian site were accompanied by objects associated with beliefs in witchcraft and magic, such as raven talons and toad bones. Stones had been placed on the hands and feet of the 3-year-old child, another practice used by various cultures to keep their dead in graves. Such rituals attempted to keep whatever evil people thought had fatally contaminated the bodies from getting out, says classical archaeologist David Soren of the University of Arizona in Tucson, who participated in the new dig.
I do want to point out, Kadant has a really good question. Her mouth could fit a brick.
Yes, it could.
How much do you want to bet she could suck a golf ball through a garden hose?
It might have not been so much that her mouth could fit a brick, so much as they broke her jaw to shove it in there after she died.
What Auntie is saying.
So we need a Brazos logo underneath it.
Well, for some reason, all joking, this is actually really common in a lot of anti-vampire burial myths. For some reason, they think that if you were able to basically stop the jaw from closing, then they wouldn't rise. So you had a lot of them where they would put like an iron spike in between the jaws, or they would put a stone or a brick in between. There's a lot of things going to the center of the chest. There's a lot of interesting binding of the hand rituals. The vampire mythology is pretty interesting.
Burying with the face down instead of up.
Also, head down.
Head down, cutting off the head.
Yeah,
that was also a big one. There was a number of cultures. There were a number of cultures that would cut off the head and place it in the stomach cavity, or between the legs, or even just in a separate grave, which was very weird. It's interesting. Again, the vampire myth goes back a long way, and it's only until relatively recently, the last 50 years or so, that we've sexualized the monsters they used to be. If you take a look at the original mythos, they're awful fucking creatures, which I approve of.
You know, I happen to have a co-host who's a vampire. He's actually 3 vampires. I keep asking if they sparkle. I keep getting weird looks from them.
He's an awful creature.
To a certain extent, though, in the Victorian era, the vampire was sexualized, because blood is something that you need to live, and exchanging fluids or being bit was a way of talking about sex without talking about sex.
Well, I can tell you one thing, Ren. I wouldn't mind exchanging some fluids with you.
Down, Antoine. Don't make me get the squirt bottle.
All right, Florida anti-hero, you're up.
Oh, let's see. Do we want this one or this one? I'm going to save this one for last because I just think it's absolutely silly. So we're going to go with Florida driver uninjured after plywood slices through windshield.
That sounds...
The picture's pretty nice. It's a good picture.
How did he not get hurt by this? Jesus Christ.
He dodged to the left.
Hey, dodging for the win.
I don't know if he did that. I'm just looking at it. It looks like there's just enough room that if he pushed his head up against the window, he'd get a bruise. So let's get to it.
God damn.
Florida driver uninjured after plywood slices through windshield. Rockledge, Florida, Fox 13. A lucky driver was mostly unscathed after a large piece of plywood impaled the vehicle's windshield. Brevard County Fire Rescue shared images of the freak accident, which occurred on Interstate 95 near Rockledge on Friday. The plywood was much longer than the entire windshield.
No shit.
Why was that statement necessary with the picture involved? Like, why do they feel the need to be like, the plywood was much bigger than the windshield? Florida Today reports the driver was identified as 35-year-old Rebecca Bergman from Melbourne. The agency said she had minor injuries and refused any medical attention.
Wait, see, this is proof. Anybody from Australia, the world is trying to
Melbourne,
kill you.
Florida.
Bam.
Melbourne, Florida? There's a Melbourne, Florida.
Yes, there is.
There is a Paris, Texas.
It's mostly Australians, though.
See, the world is still trying to kill them.
That was a filthy lie, Antoine. I wanted to see if you would bite. Moving on.
I stay as far away from Florida as I possibly can.
According to the Florida Highway Patrol, the plywood was inside the bed of a 2006 Chevrolet pickup truck, but was not properly secured. It flew off as the truck was...
No, really?
It flew off as the truck was heading northbound on I-95 and sliced through the windshield of Bergman's 2016 Honda sedan. The truck driver, a 51-year-old from Haines City, was ticketed for faulty equipment.
Look, I know you almost killed someone. Here's a ticket for not strapping down your plywood.
That's the end of the thing. And then there's Brevard County Fire and Rescue has a tweet with 2 pictures. One lucky motorist. BCFR crews responded on Interstate 95, mile marker 197 near Rockledge this afternoon, and found this, a piece of plywood impaled in a vehicle's windshield. The driver was not injured and refused transport. Hashtag BCFR, hashtag Brevard's Bravest, hashtag Interstate 85, hashtag Rockledge.
I agree with Ghost Dog. Damn, that's when you know you're lucky. Buy a lottery ticket now.
Buy a lottery ticket that day.
Brevard County Fire and Rescue's hashtag game is on fucking point.
You guys are not looking at this in the right light. This is what happens, people, when you tailgate somebody.
No, not necessarily.
Not necessarily. This is what happens.
My joke.
This is what happens when you piss off the Grim Reaper and they want to reboot Final Destination.
Does someone know where Sarah is? Did she have anything to do with this?
You're the one who talks to him more than I do.
Maybe Sarah did. I don't know. She could have tweaked a little something for fun.
She, yeah.
All right. Yeah. Now,
see what Raz said in chat. He's being very emphatic. Everybody has to pay attention to this.
Now, let's go to Ren, the wonderful, beautiful, adorable Ren, and see what she has.
You're trying to be nice to me so I don't pick an article you don't want.
He's totally sucking up.
Let's see. I could be nice. Or, here we go. How to use gender-neutral words.
I thought you were going to be nice to me.
I didn't pick the tick.
It's true. All right, gender-neutral words. Here we go.
Don, I will talk to her later and see if she can help you out.
All right, let's do this.
Alrighty. Gender-inclusive language isn't typically something you learn in school, but it's incredibly important to make life easier for non-binary peers.
Non-binary peers. I'm a child.
Everyone, this is your educational. This is your education today. Refrain from defaulting to man in descriptors, i.e., postman, because that's not good.
That's the name of the job. Man.
But they suggest instead using folks instead of guys or ladies and gentlemen, humankind instead of mankind, people instead of man or men, member of Congress instead of congressman, council person. Oh, and this is the funniest one. First year student instead of freshman.
Oh, I covered one of these stupid things in one of a video I did.
Yes. Parent or pibbling?
Yes, pibbling.
Pibbling. Machine made.
What the flaming fuck?
Machine made instead of man made. Child instead of son and daughter. Kiddo instead of boy or girl. Sibling instead of brother or sister. Nibbling instead of niece or nephew.
That just sounds like a bad day waiting to happen. Was someone nibbling? That doesn't go.
Yes.
No.
Nibbling sounds like it should be a dessert. Like nibbling sounds like the name of a cookie.
Okay, so
nibbling sounds like something that gets you beat up in the wrong neighborhood.
Yeah, it does.
I would like to point out that I'd like to point out that Volks comes from German Volk, which has a lot of very, very awful Nazi tendencies towards it. Some connotations there, and they would like us to use that.
Yes, they would.
Okay, I want to point something out. We do say flight attendant.
Yes.
They're not stewards and stewardesses anymore.
Firefighter.
They haven't been stewards or stewardesses for like 30 years, 40 years.
Yeah.
And no one called. I mean, waiter and waitress is kind of. It's not derogatory, but I've called them servers before.
Firefighter, I've heard a lot. People will say the so and so is a firefighter. You know that's the job description. Salesperson or sales representative.
I personally prefer firefighter because that implies that you're fighting the fire, whereas fireman just implies that a man made a fire.
This is true.
I mean, if your house is burning, who do you call? The person who fights the fires, or the man who's made a fire? I mean, I would call the guy who fights them, frankly.
Yeah.
The name here, this paragraph, when we speak about mankind or the achievements of man, what we're doing is confirming the subconscious bias that men are intellectually, morally, and physically superior to women, which is clearly untrue. Sam Dowd, a British didactics expert from language learning app Babbel. That's the son of a bitch that I did an article, that I did a video about. I did the entire fucking thing. This is a fucking moron.
But otherwise we exclude non-binary people from history.
Fuck non-binary people from history.
You know, avoiding humor for a brief moment, which I know is terrifying to hear from me. Anytime someone tries to aggressively or forcibly or coercively change the lexicon, it's not an endeavor to make things more tolerant or acceptant. It is a power grab. You are attempting to change the way I speak, which is in essence the way I think, which means you're trying to infect my thinking with your thinking. You're not trying to make me more tolerant of others. You're trying to put me into your power. And I don't approve at all.
Sam Dowd, everyone knows what history is, right?
Yes.
This Sam Dowd thinks history is his story.
That's why they want to talk about herstory.
Yes, instead of actually understanding what history really means.
Mm-hmm. But here's the important thing in this article. Remember, binary language also harms cisgender and binary trans people as well, because non-binary people aren't the only ones hurt by binary language. Binary trans people, or trans people who aren't non-binary, and cisgendered people are also affected and often harmed by gender binary and how ingrained it can be in our language. For instance, many women would prefer not to be lumped into a group of ladies because society's expectations of how a lady should act.
I have never once taken offense to being called lady.
Lady is kind of a... Lady is better than other words that could be used.
Anytime someone calls me lady, my first default is they're referring to me as nobility. I will fucking take that. Thank you.
It's better than someone walking up to a group of women and going, "What's up, bitches?"
Yeah.
There are a lot of really worse things to call people.
So,
and how does this asshole know that women don't like being called ladies? Ren, have you ever had an objection?
No. Hey, ladies, come on, let's not get all fighty over here. Hey, look, if you two cunts are gonna talk about this shit like that, let's get you naked and put you in some Jell-O, huh?
Hey, if you're gonna do that, it's harlots. Bring back that word. Harlot is such a better word.
It's a great word.
If I'm gonna bring back archaic words, I'm gonna bring back two of the best: Scarlet and Strumpet.
Strumpet. I am down with Strumpet.
Strumpet and harlot are my two favorites. It's like that sounds cooler than like what slut or whore now. It's like, come on, bring back Strumpet. Strumpet sounds better.
You know what? Strumpet actually sounds delicious because it reminds me of crumpet. I would rather be, associated like that than
a strumpet is just a slutty pastry one. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I can do that. Yeah,
we can do slutty pastries.
I have a apron for you to wear.
I said slutty pastry, Ren, not slutty pasty.
Oh,
hey, either way it works.
Things I put with on these streams.
You keep coming back, which means you like it, bitch.
Anti-hero.
No, I keep coming back because there needs to be maturity here, and I'm the only one who can provide it.
Maybe I need to find cupcake-shaped pasties. That could be fun for Twitter.
Well, there you go.
All right. Well, I guess we're back to the spooky science. So, what do you got for us?
Let's see. Spooky science. Do.
Spooky, scary science tons.
Well, I don't have any more spooky science, but I do have something.
I have a spooky one that you can have.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Toss it over.
I'll toss it over to you. I grabbed extras because I figured I'd needed extras.
You always do. I mean, you're amazing.
It involves ticks.
It had better not involve ticks.
A Florida man was found with an entire colony of overlarge ticks attached to his testicles.
Anti-hero, just wait till I give the pre-warning and you're gonna... Yeah.
Is it the 7 creepy signs?
Yes.
Okay.
7 creepy signs you're being haunted by an actual ghost and what to do about it.
Salt circle, shotgun full of rock salt, find the body, salt the body, burn the body.
If you have followed the Dear David saga on Twitter, or you've seen any paranormal-themed movie, then the idea of being haunted probably terrifies you and intrigues you at the same time. Despite the scare factor, many people are curious about what it's like to encounter the supernatural. Raise your hand if you're curious. I didn't think so.
Ooh.
Ren's hand is raised.
I have my cigarette out, dude. Because I smoke at my desk.
I've watched enough Supernatural to know how to deal with this.
Let's see. The creepiest signs you're being haunted include unexplained sights, sounds, temperature changes, objects moving, unexplained physical injuries, and more. In short, if your ghost isn't friendly, it sounds pretty unnerving, especially if you live alone. Maybe the haunting is fun at first, like in the movie Poltergeist when the kitchen chairs start rearranging themselves on their own. However, it stops being funny after Carol Ann gets sucked into the TV set. What's more, this movie franchise is rumored to have been cursed with a number of its actors meeting an early demise IRL. Because I've had my own haunting experiences, I'm a believer, and I'm pretty content to shut myself off from the ghost world. Sometimes the ghostly hauntings are so intense they make believers out of non-believers. Sometimes the ghosts are so faint, even the most adept and in-tune psychic can't pick up their waves. Kitty Fields, a paranormal writer, explained on Exemplar. So whether you feel it or not, there is probably a ghost hanging around your pad. But if you fear that ghost is haunting you, be on the lookout for these creepy signs. Excuse me. 1. Objects moving on their own. Okay, a lot of signs of a haunting can be easily explained by non-believers who will point out that other things could be causing your strange experiences. However, unless someone is playing a really scary joke on you, objects in your house aren't going to move on their own. I've seen books thrown through the air by an invisible force. I've watched a grown man with a $2,500 camera in his hand drop the camera to the ground because something was strangling him. Ghost hunter Greg Newkirk told Reader's Digest. And if this happens to you, it's time to call in some Ghostbusters ASAP. 2. Strange sights. This one has totally happened to me. A few years ago, I woke up in the middle of the night, 2 nights in a row, to my dog barking at a shadowy figure hovering in my bedroom. According to Fields, shadows in your peripheral vision, flickering lights and electronics, objects seeming to switch places or positions when your back is turned, figures in the dark, etc., are clear signs you might have a haunting on your hands. Feelings of being watched. When you're being watched by someone IRL, you might experience an intense feeling that causes you to look around to see who has you in their sights. If this starts happening to you on the regular when you're alone, it's worth investigating the history of your home to see if anything creepy has happened there in the past. When you feel like you're not alone in your home, cold chills move throughout the room, Newkirk noted, and even just feeling of being watched. Sometimes whispers or being awoken in the middle of the night because of the feeling that somebody's standing there. Ren, let me ask you a question. How many times has that happened to you and it's been one of your children standing by the side of the bed?
Frequently. Because children like to do this. If they wake up early, they stand and they stare at you, but they won't talk. So you're just like slightly wake up and then you see like children just staring at you creepily like, what? Why?
What's even worse is when you're walking down the hall and they're backlit to you, so they're all dark and they just stare at you.
Oh god, that's even worse too. Yeah, it's like, my kid's just practicing how to give me a heart attack.
Let's see. Phantomania. This one is not only the creepiest sign you might have a haunting on your hands, it also means your ghost isn't at all friendly. It's not Casper, guys. Sorry. According to Fields, phantomania refers to the feeling like someone is holding you down in your sleep and waking up with unexplained bites, scratches, or bruises on your body. If this happens to you, get out ASAP. This is also known as sleep paralysis, and your body does that automatically on its own to keep you from flailing about in your dreams. Persistent.
I just used my kickstand.
Not very big. It must not work very well.
Ooh.
Persistent electrical problems. If your ghost wants to make its presence known, it might decide to mess with your electricity. On her website, author and paranormal investigator Joni Mayen explained that disruption to your electronics could be a ghost way of powering itself. However, she added that sometimes actual electrical problems can be identified and allow investigators to debunk a haunting. So before you call the Ghostbusters, you might want to consult an electrician first.
Wait, does this mean a ghost is keeping OBS from working?
Entirely possible. Does anyone know the Ghostbusters? Can we call them?
Like I said to everyone on Twitter, I solemnly swear I would never, ever do anything as a cyber demon to shut down YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
YouTube did have that problem where it just didn't work worldwide.
Raziel says, I worked in a haunted building for a decade. It went sometimes 6 months at a time without doing anything, and it even made itself known during the day in front of a crowd. It did something to a trainee, and he quit after the first night.
Ooh.
Pussy.
Scott says, my ghost does not like to be called a ghost. It prefers mortally challenged. Number 6, unexplained sounds. According to Joel A. Sutherland, author of Haunted Canada Volume 5, strange sounds are the most commonly reported sign of a haunting. Yahoo News Canada noted. While a lot of unexplained sounds can be attributed to things other than the supernatural, it's not always the case. People often report hearing voices as well in other rooms. Sometimes it sounds like one person speaking or moaning or crying. Other times, people report hearing what seems to be a conversation, perhaps a few spirits. When they run into the room, there's nobody there. Cold spots. Sutherland told Yahoo News that another sign people often report when they suspect a haunting is unexplained cold spots in their home. While he said there is usually a perfectly reasonable explanation for this, when cold spots accompany several of the above factors, it's possible that a haunting is the culprit. If you experience any or several of these creepy signs, you can eliminate medical reasons, electrical problems, etc. You can call in a paranormal investigator to see if you are actually being haunted. If your ghost turns out to be a clown, grab whatever you can carry and get the hell out of there. Because, in my opinion, there's nothing creepier than a supernatural clown holding you down at night.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right. Thank you for that, Nightmare.
There's definitely creepier things out there than a clown holding you down.
But not unless your house is formerly owned by John Wayne Gacy.
I don't know. I think it'd be pretty terrifying to wake up and see yourself holding you down. Because then it's a doppelganger trying to steal your life.
And just to point out, Bloodletter says Sparky is a Ghostbuster. He actually is. He is also making a proton pack.
Nice.
Antoine, did you see the article that Antihero posted in the Discord?
All right.
Because holy shit.
We can... You have one more Florida Man story that you want to read, right?
Antihero.
Antihero.
Anti.
Good Lord, I was muted and forgot. Leave me alone. No, plus you gave me like literally a second and a half to respond before you started blabbing. Anti-hero. Now, as much as I love hearing attractive women call my name, that's not the point. I do have one more that I can read. It's really up to y'all if you want me to read it, though. I mean,
we'll do.
These are Mox's stories, so
we'll do the one last Florida Man story, and then we go to Ren, and I have a feeling I know she's going to choose one of two.
Tick.
And then when we come back to you, we'll read that story. All right.
All right then. So is it my turn?
Yes.
All right. So we're Florida Manning again. Welcome to truthfight.com. Florida cop was arrested 3 times, fired 6 times, and is now back on patrol.
I imagine they have a hard time getting cops in Florida.
I just want, for effect, I'm going to repeat what I just said in a normal tone. Florida cop was arrested 3 times, fired 6 times, and is now back on patrol. There is a picture of this man, and I would just like everybody to take a long look at this particular officer. The man's name is German Bosk. His first name is German. And I don't mean like it's a German name. I mean his name is German, German. Maybe it's German. I don't know, but it looks like German to me.
Yeah, it's spelled German.
This guy, the look on his face just absolutely screams 0 fucks given. If this guy came up to my house, I would just automatically assume that whatever he thinks I did, it's not going to matter if I did it, I'm going to jail. Probably in 2 pieces. So let's get on with this lovely debacle. An arbitrator has decided a Florida officer must be rehired, even though he has been arrested and cleared 3 times and fired 6 times. Sergeant German Bosk has returned to work at the Opelika Police Department, reported the Miami Herald. He was fired by the Miami suburb in 2013 after being charged with, get ready, misdemeanor battery, tampering with evidence, and false imprisonment of a youth counselor who went to the police station to file a complaint against him. The judge threw out the false imprisonment charge, and Bosk was acquitted of battery but convicted of evidence tampering, a charge that was later dropped during an appeal. Miami-Dade Police Benevolent Association attorney Andrew Axelrad represented Bosk during the arbitration proceedings. He's going to continue to serve the city, said Axelrad. It's not that he's a bad guy, it's just that he keeps getting fired.
Best lawyer ever. Look, I know he has killed like 30 people. I understand that.
Oh no,
but
Antoine,
he's not a bad guy.
Antoine, you need to listen to the next line. A 2011 Sarasota Herald Tribune report found that Bosk had 40 internal affairs complaints, and 16 were for battery or excessive force.
It's all right. He's just got anger issues.
Bosk has not worked for the city since he was arrested in 2013, but will be receiving undetermined amount of back pay for time not worked.
What?
In the next few
weeks, kidding me?
The amount Bosk will be paid by the financially struggling city is supposed to be determined. So that last line actually tells you everything you know about this. He is an experienced police officer who is well known in the community and it is a struggling city.
So let's keep the one cop that. Well,
actually, you know, it kind of makes sense to have a guy like that in the force, though. If you can, especially if you're in a struggling department, you can write it off as you're struggling. You need every officer you can. It's good to have one person on the team who is a loose cannon psycho, because you can trust him to go and do dumb shit, and you can write it off as, look at him. No, this is Sergeant Bosk. You know he's a fucking psychopath. His reputation can get things done, and in case you need somebody to write off as a bad egg after something goes wrong, he's always available.
He's automatic scapegoat. Yeah.
He's a good guy. Plus, you know, you put him into a cell with somebody who you need information from, and the guy starts talking as soon as he walks in because everybody knows who this guy is with his 40 fucking internal affairs complaints, 16 for assault and battery.
Alrighty.
Raz is having a bit of a conniption fit right now.
I see that.
Yeah, he is.
Poor Fluff.
Aww.
Alright, so we go to Ren.
Alright, Ish, you have your warning.
Oh, God.
Taking off my earphones.
You might not want to look. This is video.
This is gross.
Doctor pulls live tick from inside patient's ear where it had been living 4 days. This is footage from inside the guy's...
Feasting and drawing blood deeply from within.
That is from inside the guy's ear. There is the tick.
What is around the tick?
Poop.
Probably poop.
Ticklets.
This is in Malaysia. The patient said they were in a lot of discomfort and were so happy it was removed from their ear.
I bet.
The surgeon couldn't believe when he saw the tick was alive, and he carefully grabbed the insect and slowly pulled it out.
That's what she said.
The 51-year-old patient had been living with nosebleeds for 10 days nonstop, so finally went to see the doctor, and yeah.
Just grab the fucking thing and pull it out already.
Is it in their? It's in their nose or their ear?
Their ear. It started in the nose, and it climbed from the nose to the ear.
They took a chunk of skin with that tick.
They did.
Yes, they did.
And it's still alive. Kill it. Why are you playing around with it? Jesus.
Did they burn it afterwards? Because that's what you do to ticks, you know. You burn those motherfuckers. You burn them alive. You grab them with a pair of tweezers. You paint them on a pin. Something.
It does not say what happened to the tick afterwards.
You burn them. That's what happens to the tick afterwards.
And then he's pulling out giant, nasty chunks of earwax.
Burn, baby, burn.
Well, yeah, probably the earwax that started to... It's done now. You can turn it off now. All right, Ish, it's safe. That is the end of the story. The video kind of explained it. Ish, it's safe. It's safe. It's right out. She took her headphones off. It's safe. It's gone. Now poor Antoine will have nightmares.
Thank you for that.
We're here to help.
Hey, I still have Nipplegasms. We can talk about that later.
Well, we got to go back to Ishtar. It's her turn.
We aim to please.
You're muted, Ishtar.
I'm back.
Ishtar, oh, you were muted for so long, but now you're back and we're so happy that you're here. Antoine can leave now.
You just want two women to yourself.
Yes.
He's not even shy about it. He's like, yeah, pretty much. That's the way it is.
I feel no shame in any of this, really. Yeah.
Stephen Hawking believed time travel was more likely than the existence of God. In Stephen Hawking's universe, there was no room for God, because the famous cosmologist came to believe that the entirety of existence was created out of, well, nothing. As he explains in his final book, Brief Answers to the Big Questions, before the Big Bang, there was nothing, not even a God to create the universe. I think the universe was spontaneously created out of nothing, according to the laws of science, Hawking writes. There is no time for a creator to have existed in. He goes on to explain that the only God who could be consistent with the laws of physics would be a deity who never directly influences the workings of the universe. These laws may or may not have been decreed by God, but he cannot intervene to break the laws, or they would not be laws. While the existence of God makes little sense to Hawking, he's more open to the possibility of something that most people might consider much more far-fetched: time traveler. Hawking famously held a party for time travelers, but did not send out the invitations until after the party. No one showed up for the festivities. But the scientist writes that there is still some hope that traveling back in time could be possible according to the laws of the universe. He pegs this notion on the promise of something called M theory. That suggests the universe may contain 7 hidden dimensions in addition to the familiar 4 dimensions of space-time. Rapid space travel and travel back in time can't be ruled out according to our present understanding, he writes. Science fiction fans need not lose heart. There's hope in M theory. Hawking was working on the book at the time of his death in March, and it was completed with the help of his family and vast personal archives. The relatively brisk read dedicates a chapter to underscoring the frequent public alarms the physicists sounded about the potential perils of artificial intelligence, and another on advancing climate change. He also hit several optimistic notes for the future, predicting that science will find a grand unified theory that unites relativity and quantum physics, and that humans will be traveling through the solar system within a century.
So Hawking was a complete and total atheist, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I wonder how he feels now that he's dead.
Who knows?
Aww.
Antihero, are you giving Antoine more nightmares?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Thank you for that.
Guys, I don't need to hear him screaming from across the hallway.
You know what's going to be great?
It's so girly.
When he goes to the bathroom tonight, before he goes to bed, he's going to look at his balls and see some fluff and assume it's a tick and just start panicking.
I'm not going to go save him from that. He is on his
own. Unless his nose starts itching and he thinks something got up there.
God.
Will you please stop?
No.
This is horrible.
Yes,
All right.
We're being unnecessarily mean now.
All right, and
Brent just
here,
evil
it's
cackles.
your turn. We have your article up.
Just a moment.
Oh no.
All right, so this is actually this is sent to me by Pinoid. Normally, when Pinoid sends me DMs, I ignore them on principle. But this particular one grabbed my attention because of the title, and I quickly scanned the article, and I really wanted to go ahead and take a look at this with you guys because I think it's just absolutely upsetting in every way. So, for a little flavor, real quick, this whole thing is in Iceland, which is, as you know, a god-awful place. So, boys encouraged to wear nail polish and massage each other at gender-neutral school. Elite elementary schools in Iceland are teaching boys to put on nail polish and give each other full-body massages, while girls are
Bad touch. Bad touch.
It gets worse. While girls are discouraged from crying to counter gendered behaviors. Founded by Can I finish a sentence, Antoine?
No!
Good Lord, man.
Spit it out.
Founded by self-described radical feminist Margaret Paula Olofsdottir,
Oh,
the
God.
20 nursery and
Wow, you actually
elementary...
said that name. Holy shit. Continue.
I don't know if I can, Antoine. Every time I open my mouth, you won't shut up. Good Lord.
Hashtag poof hero.
Good God. Founded by self-described radical feminist Margaret Paula Olofsdottir, the 20 nursery and elementary Hallstefnin schools in Iceland, which is a population of just 334,000, separate the girls and boys classes for the majority of the day, so that they can be taught to practice behaviors of the opposite sex. Elementary school boys are taught to massage each other with lotion to learn how to have gentle hands, and are also taught to play at looking after babies with gender-neutral rag dolls. The dolls are only for the boys, the girls don't need to practice this, explained teacher Kristen Cardew to American broadcast NBC News, while she was teaching a class on structured gender compensation work at one Hjáli school in Reykjavik. Meanwhile, girls' gender deconstruction lessons include climbing walls and trees. And while the activities are, according to one teacher, intending to empower women, the broadcasters noted that crying is particularly discouraged, and weeping girls are promptly told to stop. People find this a bit ruthless, but we're making women weaker by not stopping them, said Cardew, explaining that crying was an extreme weakness of girls. If they do not actively put on behaviors of the opposite gender, they risk suffering episodes of what Hjáli teaching model founder Ms. Olofsdottir calls blue and pink hazes, which if deemed negative behaviors must be discouraged in boys and girls respectively. Speaking to Euronews earlier in 2018, Olofsdottir called girls being stereotypically considerate, nice and gentle an example of a pink haze. Boys being noisy, independent, talking, taking initiative, and moving around a lot, that's masculine or boyish culture, we call it the blue haze, she added. In the higher levels of education, gender studies is compulsory at 27 of 33 high schools on the Nordic island nation. Other Nordic nations have gone to extremes to ensure gender parity. In the winter of 2016, for example, equality snow removal was introduced in Stockholm, Sweden, prioritizing cleaning sidewalks over roads as more women walked to work, resulting in the Swedish capital coming to a standstill, with road commuters affected by sudden heavy snowfall.
Yeah, I remember when that story hit. That was funny.
There are a few things I want to go back and recover real fast.
Can I just say, can we nuke them from orbit?
I think there's a few parts in here that are really important, and it's not even that massaging people or anything. Although I do have to reread something just for comparison value. The elementary school boys are taught to massage each other with lotion to learn how to have gentle hands, quote unquote, and are also taught to play at looking after babies with gender-neutral rag dolls. The doll's only for the boys because the girls don't need to practice this. I find that very interesting that we're now going, that this supposed radical feminist is now going with the idea that women are better nurturers by nature. We then drop down to, meanwhile, girls' gender deconstruction lessons include climbing walls and trees. Crying is discouraged, even girls are probably told to stop. People find this a bit ruthless that we're making weaker women by not stopping them, and the crying extreme weakness of girls. So at this point, this particular radical feminist is saying, no, let's embrace toxic masculinity and make it toxic femininity.
And also, good luck in getting some little boys to sit still. It doesn't happen.
Oh yeah.
Unless they're loaded up with narcotics.
I really dislike how this particular woman, Ms. Olofsdottir, is, in my opinion, she appears to be taking all the different tenets of what feminism has been touted here in America as, removing most of it and saying, no, it's okay if we do the whole toxic masculinity thing.
Yeah, because those girls are going to go and be well-adjusted.
Oh, totally.
I just think them forcing young boys to give other young boys lotioned massages is a bad idea.
Again, bad touch.
Okay, so Ren, I take it we'll be making a trip to Iceland. So
we're going to need to nuke it.
Yeah.
Do we need Iceland? Really?
Do they produce anything?
I don't think so.
So they contribute really nothing to the betterment of the world?
No, I don't think so.
All right, let's nuke it.
We don't need it.
Raz says you are forgetting that they do not just suddenly become rabid feminists. They are raised and socialized to become them. College and feminist mothers are the worst offenders.
It should also be noted that it says late in the article that gender studies is compulsory at 27 of the 33 high schools in Iceland.
Yeah, nuke it.
That is terrifying.
Iceland, we do not need. We do not need it. Make it go away.
I think that is literally something that you should be afraid of, especially because a large portion of the social justice-minded feminist population here in America want to use the European model. And that includes Sweden, that includes Iceland. 27 out of 33 is a ridiculous majority.
Yeah, but we need to save Sweden. Swiss chocolate is delicious.
And the music is fantastic.
And they do have all the banks. So we save Sweden. We don't need Iceland. We don't need Iceland at all.
I agree.
I don't think Sweden or Iceland are savable at this point.
Do we steal the Swedish chocolate recipes first? So we steal those first and then nuke it?
I mean, you're basically looking at two countries who have not been forced into this, but have chosen this.
Okay, so steal their recipes and then nuke Sweden. But
the music. Yeah,
but we have to steal some stuff from Sweden first.
Yeah.
I.e., just a few recipes and some music and stuff.
It's not like it's hard. It's Sweden. They can't even save themselves from themselves. I'm pretty sure it'd be easy to get in there.
Oh, Switzerland, not Sweden. Never mind. Sweden can go.
So
Switzerland is better.
So let's bring this around for the last story and have it a little more uplifting. Everyone likes a good orgasm.
Yes, they do.
So why don't we deal with this story and see if we can't get a new type of orgasm?
It's called a nipplegasm.
I am so intrigued by this.
That's why you're looking down.
I'm pretty sure I've given a few girls that.
Yes.
I'm working on a Christmas gift and listening.
When we think about orgasms, most people jump right through to the genitals. After all, that's how you make an orgasm happen, right?
Yep, I have totally given at least 3 girlfriends one of these.
An orgasm?
A nipplegasm.
That is true most of the time, but there are elusive orgasms that come from non-genital touching, like nipplegasms. A nipplegasm is just what it sounds like, an orgasm that comes from nipple or breast touching alone. It may sound like a myth, because most people haven't experienced this kind of sexual pleasure. While it's common knowledge that playing with nipples with your fingers, with mouth, or nipple clamps or other sex toys, let's see, now I lost my spot. Feels good for most people. It can be hard to imagine how to play with someone's nipples to get them to orgasm, but it does happen, and science has some ideas as why. Down. Scientists.
I don't care about the why. I only care that it can happen.
I want to know how.
It's literally almost 100% to do with your mindset.
Most of sex is.
Most sex is actually. Scientists who study sexual pleasure have clearly have also been curious about the nipplegasm. So curious, they hooked people up, mostly women, although people of all genders have nipples and can benefit from nipplegasms, to an MRI machine while someone stimulates different parts of their body in a 2011 study. That sounds like a fun research study.
I want to start a study like this. Ren, Ishtar, do you want to volunteer?
I've got nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
In their research, the scientists discovered that playing with someone's nipples activates the same area of the brain, the genital sensory cortex, as playing with their penis, vulva, or vagina, or other genitals. Those are the 2 genitals. It's okay, whatever. The finding was totally unexpected for the scientists, but it could easily explain why some women have reported having orgasms from nipple touching.
No, seriously, what other genitals?
I don't know what the other genitals are. They listen
think
to
this is important. If we're saying nipples are non-genital, so what other?
there's two in my.
It's the front hole and the back hole.
But that's the vulva vagina. What the fuck is?
The back hole is not a vagina.
No,
I don't think your asshole counts as a genital though, because
there's blood everywhere. There's so much blood from my nose and ears. Aneurysm. Oh God.
So
move on with it. He'll be fine.
So how do you have a nipplegasm? Unfortunately, there's no guarantee you can. Everyone is different, and something that might feel amazing during sex for one person might not turn another person on at all. If you're not already into nipple play, then consider chasing another form of elusive orgasm, such as orgasm from sexual fantasy. How is that elusive? That's masturbating. If it's
I think they're just talking about having the fantasy and not touching yourself.
That is a hell of a fantasy and a really good imagination.
That's got to be a damn good fantasy.
I would like to point out, though, Ren and Ishtar, there are a lot of women out there who, even by themselves, can't, with industrial tools, no less, can't get an orgasm.
This is true.
We must help these people, anti-hero.
Unfortunately, and I know you're trying to make a joke, but there's not a lot of help we can give because it's all in their heads, and there's some sort of mental block in place where they, for whatever reason, can't get to a point where they can let go. That's really the reason why the BDS community is such a very large draw for people as far as event play goes, because it's where you can finally let go and not feel crippling guilt about what you're doing or anything else. I've dated at least 2 girls now who really only did well, orgasmically speaking, in a BDSM style situation because they could let go, they could enjoy themselves, and they could not feel guilty about it. In fact, one of my more recent girlfriends, her mother had spent years telling her that sex was dirty and nasty and awful, and if you did it, you were a dirty, nasty, awful woman. And it was only when she was, basically being my submissive that she was able to enjoy an orgasm. Because as she explained to me, she's like, "It's not my fault I'm coming." Now, thankfully, she saw a therapist after we broke up, but I think it's important to note that a lot of women can't get any kind of orgasm, so if they can get a nipplegasm, more power to them.
Yes. And here's the last part they suggest. Practice, practice, practice.
For science.
First, you may want to practice by yourself because you'll want to be really in touch with your own body. Start by setting the scene. Bring yourself to a nipplegasm is going to be a sensual experience. So set a sensual scene with candles or light music or whatever makes you feel sexy. Then start to focus on your breath. Pay attention to your breath so you can help you focus on your body and how the touch feels. Yeah, and now we're going into the how-to.
Keep going.
Ren,
Cat needs to know.
Ren, can you
start? Yeah, if you two are going to talk about this, could we get rid of some of the clothing involved here?
No.
Also, Ren, could we have a visual demonstration of what's going on? I think it's really important for the females in the chat. They need to be able to see what they're doing.
I know, but unfortunately, I think Antoine likes his channel.
I really do.
No, you don't have to take anything off. It's an over the clothing demonstration. Again, I think no, and I'm not being lewd or perverted or anything.
Yes, you are.
Let me finish. You're just doing a reading of it. There are audio learners and there are visual learners, and we have to help support the visual learners in the chat.
See,
and the visual learners who
says that a visual demonstration would be helpful.
It would.
Anti-hero, do you want to do it?
You know what? I will do that. I will. I can't actually. It's dark here. I'll prove it. It's dark in this room now. It's not
right.
very well.
I'm gonna read
hold on, and I will take off my shirt. Are you ready?
She's gonna turn the camera off. Yep. Hashtag called it.
She's gonna take off her shirt, so there you go, audience.
My shirt is off now.
All right, she's got the visual representation going. Everyone can magicals.
All right. Then start teasing yourself slowly. Begin at your belly. We hold a lot of stress here. Start with strokes around the belly, rib cage, and in between the breasts to tease yourself. Don't touch the breasts yet. You'll want to work up to the breasts and nipples instead of jumping right in.
Don't touch that titty, ladies.
Because you want to take the time to arouse yourself. Same goes for when you do start touching your breasts. Start slowly. At first, use light touches. Feel free to take out a feather or another tickler if you want. Glide your finger over your nipples using saliva or a dab of lube. Run them up and over the nipples and circle the areola. Gradually build up to more direct and harder touches, such as twisting your nipples or even using a nipple clamp. If you spend time really connecting with how it feels to play with your nipples and later having a partner play with your nipples, you just might have a nipplegasm. Don't worry if it doesn't happen. Orgasms are great, but so is sex in general, so there's no losing here. And that is the end of the article. As Chad is probably
Raziel goes, this is literally just called foreplay. Did these idiots just forget about foreplay altogether and think this is something new now when it's just rediscovery?
Apparently foreplay is forgotten.
Apparently it's a lost art.
Foreplay is important to every situation.
I have a very important question now.
What?
First, for the people here in the stream, how many of you are currently in an aroused state and don't lie?
How many are what, you robot?
In an aroused state and don't lie. In the words of Dave Chappelle, are you aroused?
Ooh.
Well, Ren definitely is. I'm looking at her little smile right now and her blush. I know she is. And then let's go over to Ishtar. Ishtar is blushing too, so she's aroused.
Shut up, it's my hair.
And Antoine's not talking, so he's probably jacking it as we speak.
I am not.
Let's see. Can I get a 1? Can I get a 1 in the chat for those of you who are feeling it, and a 2 from those of you who are not? Come on, 1s and 2s. Let's see where we're at. There's 11 of you watching, so I should see 11 1s and 2s. I will go ahead and give mine as a 3. Anvir's ready to go.
Citrus Quest is saying, if you collect 15 beetle shells, I can teach you the ancient skill. Foreplay +1.
Kadant is a 0.
Oh dear.
That's got a 0. I can fix that. Watch here. Actually, I can fix that right now.
Kadant clearly would have been more turned on if you had been doing the visual teaching.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Ghost Dog is a 1, Zerg is a 2. Citrus Quest is a 46.15.
Dude, you need to lay off the drugs. And I'm specifically stating Viagra.
If it's lasting longer than 4 hours, you need to go see a physician.
I mean, all I have to do for Kadun is just say, mine. And
Ooh,
that should solve the problem right there.
That was a pretty good growl.
That should solve the problem right there.
Raz is saying nothing yet hot yet. But hey, now it's a 1.
And the 1 in the chat, as I expected.
Another 1. That's 3 1s.
A lot of 1s in the chat. That's so many 1s. All right, Kadam, we get it. You're moist. I will happily.
Not moist.
Well, if I'm talking, never. Unless we're arguing, in which case she's not wet when we're arguing. When we're fighting, she's the exact opposite of wet.
Are you sure she doesn't like it when you argue just because of the makeup sex that comes up after?
No, that she likes. It's the arguing ahead of time that doesn't do anything for her. Whereas me, I'm just like, it's hard for me to keep a straight face when we argue because I think she's hot as shit when we argue. We were arguing today.
She admits that she's kind of wet when you guys argue.
We were arguing today, in fact, and like halfway through the argument, we're throwing out all kinds and we're like being vicious and being throwing insults back and forth, and out of nowhere, I'm like, "Man, you are fucking hot when you're angry," and she just breaks down to helpless giggling, and that was pretty much the end of the argument. Went nowhere from there.
Well, at least you appreciate her fury.
Look, I appreciate any fury, and I happen to like anger. It's an emotion I'm well acquainted with.
Ren's shirt is coming off. I need to point out this lovely thing.
I don't think anyone has any actual problem with that.
No. Check my Twitter feed. No one's ever had an issue with it.
No one's had an issue with it ever. In fact, it usually gets retweeted. In fact, the only issue I ever have with Ren's Twitter feed is that I'm not tagged in it enough.
I'll work on it.
That's the only issue I have with it. I'm here talking with Ren and encouraging her and, being there for her as a shoulder to cry on and occasionally lean a tit on. And what do I get? Not even a fucking tag.
Talk to Zach and stuff. I sneak into that room all the time with Cadunt. And I'm sure I can tag you more.
Ghost Dog says Antoine can purr to help Ren and Cadunt.
Please.
You purr?
He does a very nice purr.
Purr or tentacles?
All right.
Sometimes I make him purr for his dinner. I'm talking like actual food that I've cooked, not sex. None of that. Hey! Asshole!
I said sneak in with you, not sneak in by myself. So if I feel like tentacles, I have other rooms I can sneak into too.
You can join me with my tentacles anytime you want, Ren.
Ren, I guarantee if you join in with those tentacles, you'll be nothing but dissatisfied and sticky in the morning.
I don't know. She seemed to enjoy the bath that I kind of invaded the other day.
Look,
yeah, the 2 pictures that were proof of that one.
Those pictures are proof that she was paid to enjoy it. I mean, there's plenty of male porn stars who are paid to enjoy gay sex, and they're not really fans of it. I mean, if you give people enough money, they'll act like they enjoy anything. I'll act like I enjoy sounding if you pay me a couple $1,000s.
But you do enjoy sounding.
So we can call Opal.
I'm a cheap whore.
Yeah, you'll do it for Pepsi.
It depends.
By the way, Cadunt, next time we sneak in, we steal the cheesecake, the Bailey's cheesecake.
How much Pepsi are we talking?
See? You'll do it for Pepsi.
How much are we talking? Look, I've already established that I'm a whore. Haggling over price is part of it.
Well, I haven't considered it because I wasn't actually going to hire you for anything.
I mean,
how about a 24-pack?
For one thing, I actually want to survive, and I'm pretty sure Cadunt will hurt me.
Absolute murder, in fact.
Yeah, so no.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. We have been talking about vampire child burials. We were talking about ticks and ears. And we ended with a how-to on giving yourself a nipple orgasm. I think we've had a pretty good news show, don't you think?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, thank you, everyone, for joining us. My name is Antoine the Great. I've been joined by my beautiful and adorable co-host, Ren from Renelations, and Ishtar from her own streaming channel, and Army of Snarkness, and some chump with a vampire avatar. I can't remember his name.
One of these days, Antoine, you'll realize that you're never going to be better than me, no matter how hard you try.
So thank you for joining us.
Romance is ridiculous.
No.
MSNBC, my snarky news broadcasting channel. All of the news, none of the pants. And as you can see, Ren was working almost pantsless. So tune in next week, and we'll see you all later.
Later.
Bye.
Ass fucking.